Hello, everybody. Welcome to a webinar hosted by Skai and XPN. We're happy that you're here. Today's topic is all things AMC. We're here to take you to ground zero, the ground zero floor of AMC, starting with what is AMC, what's the ecosystem look like. We'll get into 101, 201s, 301, and even 401 today, and kind of walk you through how you can um, use AMC to optimize your Amazon ads strategy and really your overall brand marketing strategy as well. So I'll move on to the next slide. I'll introduce you to our panelists. Mick and Sean, you want to give a brief intro?
Yeah, absolutely. I can get started. Hi, everyone. My name is Michele Giliberti. I usually go by Mick. Born and raised in Italy, now in the US, CEO and co-founder of XPN. And prior to that, I spent 10 years at Amazon.
Hi, everybody. Sean Evans, based in Nashville area. Um, I have been at XPN for 2 years. I'm the CRO. Prior to that, I spent 7 years at Amazon Ads leading strategic partnerships. Great to have everybody here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Hi, everybody. I'm going to be your host. I'm Ana Santaella. I'm on the product marketing team with a focus on retail media here over at Skai. And we have our expert, Kevin, over here as well. Kevin, if you want to intro yourself.
Thank you. Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Kevin Kane, a director on expert services focused on retail media. So happy to be here and excited to kick this off.
Awesome. And then for those of you that might be unfamiliar with XPN, Mick, I'll let you give a little spiel, or Sean, a little spiel about who you are.
Yeah, I think real quick, XPN, as we say in this slide, well, first of all, we are an Amazon ads verified partner and Amazon Marketing Cloud service and software provider. We say here, like, move beyond traditional advertising metrics. Like in my 20 years of experience in advertising, I always thought that the holy grail would have been to have access to shopper level insights, optimize my ad spend or my customers' ad spend based on who their shopper are, what their purchase behavior and insights like that. And that was not really possible. I think with Amazon Marketing Cloud now, this is becoming possible. And so we are excited about bringing to market new insight or metrics like customer acquisition cost, long-term value, and so on.
Thank you so much. A good partner of Sky's for some time now. And for those of you that might have joined via XPN and might not be the most familiar with Sky, we are the one platform for all your commerce media needs, right? We have both the media side of the house and the commerce side of the house. When it comes to media, we're connecting all the channels that you care about most, retail media, Amazon specifically, of course, with a lot of other retail media networks and SSPs. We do search, social, CTV as well. And of course, we have some measurement partners, clean room support like AMC, and other key data integrations and partnerships. So on the commerce side, we do work with, digital shelf intelligence tool, retail insight, content platforms as well, even operational systems with ticketing and revenue recovery. But we do it all from one platform: commerce, media, planning, activation, measurement, and of course, it's 2025 AI, which we've had for a bit, but we've made some great strides there to help our advertisers. So I went over the agenda already, but lay of the land, which I'm going to get into now. We'll get into the 101, the 201, touch on 301, 401, and then we'll close out this webinar. And I do want to share that slides will be sent to you all after this webinar, so don't worry if you miss something, you'll have it in your inbox shortly. So let's talk about AMC. Some of you might recognize this matrix, some of you might not. So this is from Stratably. Stratably started by Russ, who came from Cleveland Research. Great information, great newsletter. But what I find really interesting, this matrix, I was actually going to use the matrix that they put out last year in August of 2024. And then they released their new matrix this year. And interestingly enough, when it came to AMC, there had only been a 2% change from last year to this year with their research. And so, what this matrix is really showing us is that basic AMC usage, let's say the 101, is high impact and relatively high adoption. But then when you get to the 201, the 301, the more advanced AMC usage, obviously it's going to have even more higher impact, but it has way lower adoption. And so that's why we're here today, right? We want to make sure that you know how to use AMC and recognize that it's an impactful tool and it's still underutilized. So there is, possibility for outpacing your competition if you really get a handle on what you can do with AMC. And so some stats here from the State of Retail Media that Skai publishes with BWG is that 65% of retail media brands recognize that understanding the shopper journey is super influential, just like Mick said, right? The shopper insights will be so crucial and so helpful in terms of building out your Amazon ad strategy, but only 15% of retail media advertisers feel like they have achieved the full funnel maturity. So what can unlock that? AMC, right? 41% of respondents said that they struggle to integrate data into clean rooms because 36% of them lack the technical expertise. Well, spoiler alert, you don't really need to know SQL anymore. You just need to learn how to really utilize, identify, and utilize, leverage the right AMC insights. So these are just a ton of questions that our customers are asking our agentic AI, Celeste AI, questions about AMC. And you can see from here, we're still not even asking the right questions and we're trying to get everything we can. But I think it takes learning the 101 before you can get to the walk and the run approach for AMC. So we're here to help bring some clarity there. So AMC, I do kind of want to level set. Okay, some of you are saying that's really important. I understand, but what does it even do? And I like to go back to the basics when it comes to defining AMC. For me, years ago, Amazon only had last click attribution. And so what does AMC do? AMC unlocks the multi-touch attribution, right? You can gain the insights into a customer journey to really see how effective your different ad campaigns are and how they're working in unison and how they're working with certain cohorts of audiences. Folks that might be new to your brand, folks that might be loyalists, and really understand how the upper funnel can work with the lower funnel. And that's really at the basics what AMC can do. And so it might seem like, oh no, it's a bunch of raw data. I don't do code. What even should I be looking for? And we'll get into it in the next sections of this webinar. But really, what you're doing is pulling all your data, Amazon and even off Amazon. You're bringing it into a safe, clean room space. You are identifying key insights, and we'll get into what is really important here: new to brand, lifetime value, conversion path, media mix. We'll share what you really should be looking for in AMC, and then we'll share ways of optimizing audience creation, bid optimizations, and a lot more. So with that, I'll pass it off with Mick, who really brainstormed this, what 101 to 401 looks like, and what we'll get into the rest of the webinar. But Mick, I'll pass it off to you to explain our approach here.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, we came up with this 101 401 framework after a couple of years now spent on AMC talking to customers, agencies. I've heard everything. On average, what I've seen is maybe large brands, there's always someone very advanced in the way, someone in the team who knows everything, super advanced in the way, that person knows exactly what could be done, what could not, and how. But the vast majority of the rest of the team members, again, whether this could be an agency or this could be a brand, are more struggling. And what I learned is that what was missing was a clear framework to understand where to start from, because clearly possibilities are very broad with AMC. And so we came up with this framework with the idea to really simplify the approach and help brands to follow a step-by-step guide to growth in the way they use insight and take action on those. So at the 101 level, you don't do nothing really different than what you already do. Like what I mean is, usually brands, they optimize their ad spend to generate the highest ROAS, or they want to acquire new customers. And what you get when you access AMC in an easy way, like through either Sky, XPN, or maybe other platform, is that you can really start asking more sophisticated questions like, okay, want to acquire a new customer, but what is really the cost for me to acquire a customer? Can I optimize my campaign to lower that cost rather than to increase the ROAS? Or maybe I can do both. And to do both, you need to leverage multi-touch attribution, because clearly last touch, sorry, attribution wouldn't work for a use case like that. And so really at the one-on-one level, you start familiarizing with these metrics, and you can create more advanced audiences that you couldn't create just with your DSP or sponsor ads, like I'm thinking bid boosting, for example, console. And so at the one-on-one level, you really start understanding like that having visibility into shopper level data can generate an immediate ROI. Then, now that you are more familiar with these metrics, at 201, you want to go deeper. And so it means that you will start looking at the full funnel, how the upper funnel influences the full funnel, how the ad spend influences, on another dimension, how the ad spend influences the organic traffic and conversion. Can I optimize my ad spend to increase my organic conversion? Is this something I can do? And clearly the answer is yes. But again, you will measure that by looking at what is, again, the customer acquisition cost, how many new brand customers I'm acquiring, what is the overall value, like the long-term or lifetime value that this customer generate. At the 301, and so with 101 and 201, you can really go, let's say, deeper in the way you optimize your Amazon business. At 301, you start leveraging a data clean room, like Amazon Marketing Cloud specifically, to also optimize your direct-to-consumer business. And so you can combine your first-party data. It could be a hashed list of email or more, like maybe a CRM integration. But once you have done that, you have a holistic visibility into who is your customer. And if the customer converts better on Amazon or on your direct-to-consumer, you can optimize campaign, for example, to gain the optimal marginal value, for example. And then at the 401 level, I think this is more, think about it like maybe a use case helpful for large brands, multinational brands. They are clearly obsessed with privacy control on their data. They don't want to share, like move the data anywhere, but they want to basically collaborate on data with maybe other companies or Amazon itself through AMC. And that's more, again, I think the more advanced use case, we will not go deep into this webinar on this. We will focus more on the 101, 201, and a little bit of 301.
Thank you, Mick. And I forgot to launch a poll earlier in the webinar, but now that Mick has gone through the 101 to the 401, we're going to get a gauge on what the audience's experience level is with AMC. So answer at your leisure, if you will. This will help us sort of curb a little bit of our lesson plan, if you will, given your expertise. But be curious at how you would all describe your current knowledge of AMC. If you're a beginner, you're brand new, you're just starting to learn, starting to incorporate that 101. If it's a little bit more basic, you understand the core metrics, but maybe you're not activating 100% yet. Maybe you have already even run your own instructional query, or maybe you're very advanced and today's going to be a walk in the park for you, but we're curious to see where you're at before Kevin gets
Yes, Anna, I think one
Yeah.
important thing to underline here is, regardless the level of the individual person, like you can really be an expert, but you don't work alone. So you work in a company, you work in an agency, And so my recommendation would be anyway to start, let's say, slow, easy, one-on-one, really become expert into all the use cases, all the things that you can do there, and then grow to the 201 level and so on. Because otherwise, for example, one of the things that you will face if you are the most advanced, whatever, techie, ad tech expert in your company, is that you will face a lot of friction within your company because maybe other people will not be speaking your language and so on. So I think that following this path will help drive adoption and ultimately ROI.
Amazing. Yeah. And I think this is a good matrix. I mean, Mick is a genius, especially when it comes to AMC. So when you get this deck after, use it as a resource internally so you can scale AMC in your team as well. But it seemed like in that poll, we had a lot of intermediate and semi-advanced. So excited to have you here to learn a little bit more. Okay, Kevin, I'll pass it off to you.
Okay, sounds good. So yeah, I want to go through a few use cases here that use AMC and XPN. So when we look at the 101 level of using AMC, we kind of focus on what insights that we can get that go beyond the native tools. So if we want to go to the next slide here, um, we usually start with a business question. So in this case, I want to know where to shift my advertising budget to try to maximize results. It's a common question that a lot of us marketers tend to encounter. So how do we go about doing that? We need to better understand our customer's journey. How does a typical customer engage with our ads? To help answer that, we use something called a path to conversion or a path to purchase AMC report. And this kind of shows the series of campaign interactions across search and DSP that ultimately resulted in a conversion. That's kind of what the path to conversion report tells us. It gives us an insight into what's happening beyond the last click. And so with this information, we can really understand the influence of different individual campaigns throughout the customer journey. So this is step one. You're starting to gain some insight using AMC into which of those campaigns are really starting to drive results. So what do we actually do with this information? If you want to go to the next slide, Anna. So path to conversion, this is sort of what it looks like. We can actually go to the next one. And so, yeah, the next step would be to look in XPN. There's a Media Insights report within XPN. This is a really great report to look at to learn more about individual campaigns beyond what's typically available in that native console. So here's an example of a metric called MT ROAS or multi-touch ROAS. It helps us assign a more accurate ROAS value to individual campaigns that are driving conversions across that entire path to conversion. So this metric kind of assigns credit across all of those different touch points. And so with this metric, we get a better idea of the true value that a campaign has. We might also look at customer acquisition cost or CAC. This is the cost to acquire new to brand customers. And this metric helps us kind of see which campaigns are effectively driving new to brand customers. Here in this screenshot, we see a green and a red highlighted campaign. These are both branded campaigns. The green one has a much more efficient CAC compared to the red campaign. And so we would perhaps strategically invest more in the better performing branded campaign. This kind of becomes important with branded campaigns. You don't want to spend a ton of money on brand campaigns because you could potentially get those organically, but it's still important to invest efficiently. And so this insight kind of gives us that information that we need to defend that brand space against competitors and be effective with our branded strategy there. So to recap, now we kind of have we've determined which series of campaigns are leading to a purchase with the path to purchase report. We have a better understanding of the true real value of campaigns along the customer journey using the multi-touch ROAS metric and CAC. And so now in step three, we can make those decisions on which campaigns we should try to invest more in. We have more confidence in this decision, knowing that the data and insights we're using are richer and consider a more omni-channel view than what we have in those native reports. So one benefit is just having availability to these types of metrics in XPN, not having to write those SQL codes or anything, and easily be able to make those decisions. I had mentioned CAC as a metric. So if your main strategy, for example, is to drive new to brand customers, we could use XPN reports here to kind of slice and dice by different dimensions. In this use case, I used campaign, but you can sort of see along the top there in this screenshot, we can also use different dimensions like our targeting, so keywords, ASINs, categories. We can look at search terms, creative, line item, supply source, device, even geo for DSP. So lots of different ways that we can uncover some really valuable insights fairly quickly and easily to better understand what's working and what's not. Second use case that I wanted to highlight here, again, kind of following the same format of starting with a larger business question and then sort of working our way through. This one's going to focus a little bit more on audiences and AMC audiences specifically. So the previous one was kind of taking action for investment. Here I want to kind of focus on AMC audiences. So this larger business question that we start with is simply which shoppers convert better. So here we want to look to see which campaigns or audiences are driving new to brand customers using the audience performance reports in XPN, or we could use those media insights reports as well that we highlighted earlier. If you want to go to the next slide, Anna. So these are just screenshots of that audience performance report as well as an audience creation tool. So in this example, let's say we've identified a campaign that drives new to brand orders at a very high efficient rate. This is something that's really easy to get to in XPN. So that's like an insight that we can gain from that report. And then we can utilize the AMC Audience Builder tool, which is an easy to use no code tool built into XPN. If you want to go to the next slide, we can get a little preview of that. The audience builder here. And so here we can build out an audience with that insight in mind. One example that I was going to use was a pre-built audience called exposed to one campaign, but not the other. So if a user is exposed to a middle or upper funnel campaign, for example, but not exposed to this campaign that we've identified as being a high new to brand driver, then we can create an AMC audience with this tool fairly easily. And then from there, we can go ahead and create maybe a DSP conversion order, like lower funnel conversion order that targets this audience specifically. And then you can customize the creative to align with that and increase your bids. If we want to go to the next slide, we can also apply bid boosting to these audiences. So in your search campaigns, if you develop these AMC audiences, you can go ahead and increase bids pretty easily on those AMC audiences. And so a couple of effective ways that we're able to easily utilize the XPN tools to gain those insights and build those audiences. And then here we have a case study from Collective Measures. So here the client wanted to do something very similar. They wanted to improve revenue. And so they used AMC to identify high value audiences that ultimately helped guide their investment decisions across display, search, and video. They also built AMC audiences for retargeting. And so all of those efforts ultimately led to the results that you see here with 120% increase in ad attributed revenue, 6% increase in POS revenue year over year, and then a 28x conversion rate for sponsored ads and DSP. So pretty great results following a somewhat similar process of those two use cases that I just presented. So really powerful things that you can get just at the 101 level.
Yeah, this is a great full funnel story. And I know that Mick has some later on as well that really shows the power of using full funnel, upper and lower, that we know sometimes we can't really attribute ROI back to the upper funnel, but with AMC, you can. And so to round out the 101 section, Kevin has walked you through some of our favorite use cases with AMC that, hopefully are easy enough for you to start implementing. But the more you implement these use cases, the more familiar you'll get with the AMC insights and optimizations and start to be able to spot what insights you want to look out for, what strategic shifts you can make. And so what will that look like? It's kind of bucketed here into three ideas, right? Optimize, the more optimizations, keep optimizing the audience, the bid boosting, creating new audiences, and maybe explore new audiences. There are a ton of pre-built audiences that might kind of fit whatever strategy you're looking to make for that particular quarter or that particular campaign. Monitoring, once you get familiar with these metrics, the new to brand, the CAC, the MT ROAS, you'll be able to spot specific anomalies and be able to take quick action on them. And lastly is reporting. So while you start making these updates, these 101 use cases, you want to look back at what performance was before you started implementing these AMC insights and post, right? To really understand what ROI, AMC insights, and optimizations using those insights are going to bring back to you. So these are kind of three calls that, when you start implementing these 101 use cases, remember, continue to optimize, trying new audiences and bid boosting and whatnot. Continue monitoring as you get more familiar. New optimizations will stand out to you, and then report on all the hard work that you've been doing and the AMC changes that you've been seeing and leveraging. So rounding out, and on the bottom here, when we first thought out, we were like, oh, these are all the Skai tools you can use, but we want to, if anybody's not a Skai or XPN user right now, there are ways you could do this manually yourself, and that's kind of the black row here. But that rounds out our 101. Now, Mick, are you ready for 201?
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I don't want to interrupt the flow of the webinar. I see that there are some questions coming in the chat. So, Anna, are we going to address these questions at the end, just to let the attendees know?
Yes, we'll be tending to these questions at the end, but Mick, if you're seeing them and they're relevant to whatever you're presenting on, feel free to answer them in your slides. But at the end of the session, we will be tending to all the questions that we can that have come in through the chat.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so continuing on the use cases. So now in the survey, we saw that 75% of the attendees today are beginner or intermediate. So if there's any question, feel free to add to the chat and we will address at the end of the presentation. At the 201 level, as we mentioned earlier, like the focus is really full funnel measurement, blending organic and ad attributed conversion and results. So if you can go to the next slide, again, as like in the 101 level, we start with the business question. In this case, like the question you can start answering is, how does ad and organic traffic translate into brand consideration? Like we talk about upper funnel. One of the goals of upper funnel is clearly to drive consideration. And so in this case, what would you do is you would run organic and ad attributed traffic analysis. Important note here, to have a full visibility into your organic business at Amazon, let's say conversion, traffic, and so on, you would need to access Amazon Insights, which is a paid data set. I want to say AMC, and maybe this is value that is not clear to everybody. Like AMC, it's a data clean room. And so data clean room in general are expensive. Like before AMC, accessing a data clean room was something that only a very large and sophisticated brand spending millions and millions in advertising could afford. I'm kind of grateful for Amazon, like trying to disrupt the market and bringing AMC now for free. I think this is great, unlocks really a huge set of opportunities for brands of any side. But yes, some of the data sets sometimes it's paid, and so don't get scared of that. One of the things that we do at XPN is helping brands understand the value behind their Amazon insights so that they can evaluate better if it's worthwhile for them to pay it or not. Usually the answer is yes, it's totally worthwhile. And so in looking at the organic and ad attributed traffic, one of the most interesting thing to see, if you want to go on the next slide, is how ad spend drives conversion, as I mentioned earlier, in relation to the big tentpole events, for example, that Amazon runs. And as you can see, this is like a high level slide, like the first slide of a more like a deeper analysis. But it was kind of eye-opening when we saw that, because what we saw here is this brand was spending particularly upper funnel at the same time when tentpole events were running. But as you can see, the blue line is the organic traffic, the red line is the paid traffic. That was not really having an impact on the total consideration that the brand was having. And so I think having access to these type of insights can really help you decide what you should change and go deeper and see what is the ad product, the ad campaign that is really driving traffic, and when is the best time for me during the year to drive consideration to my brand, considering that during tentpole events, a lot of that will be already happening. And clearly the message here is not, you should not spend when there's a tentpole event. What I'm saying here is exactly the opposite, is when there aren't tentpole events is when you start like building a lot of the demand, which because of the tentpole event will be amplified by the Amazon effort. If you want to go to the next slide, another business question, again, where we combine upper and lower funnel is like, how does upper funnel spend convert to results? And so what is a result? Usually upper funnel, again, the goal is to drive consideration, which hopefully will convert to conversion at some point, but is to drive consideration. And you do that reaching like incremental audiences. Like you want to spend your advertising dollars on audiences that you were not reaching before. This is why, or they were not already engaging with your brand. This is why, for example, you would run a Prime Video campaign. So if you go to the next slide, what we show you here, and this is again something that AMC and with in particular, like we have developed a tool that is specific for this type of analysis. If you run Prime Video campaign, what the numbers we show here is the brand Regina. They, to give you the context, they ran a Prime Video campaign. I think the campaign reached exactly the results that we were wanting to achieve, which was to reach an incremental audience. Like, as you can see from the numbers here, we were able to measure that 82% of the shoppers reached by the campaign were actually new, like were not reached already by other campaigns that Regina was running. What is interesting, though, is that if we go deeper and look at what happened afterwards, well, the shoppers that were reached only by the Prime Video campaign, the conversion rate was 0.05. Shoppers that were reached by Prime Video and DSP, the conversion rate was 12 times higher, bigger. So what is the takeaway here is, yes, I should continue running ads on Prime Video to keep like reaching an incremental audience. But along with that, what I would do is, as Kevin also was mentioning earlier, I would run a DSP campaign that basically retargets the users that were exposed to the Prime Video campaign. And so these are like kind of the type of best practice that it's very easy to build with AMC. And again, with Skai or XPN, you would be able to do it with no code development needed. If we go to the next one, Kevin earlier was mentioning how usually brands clearly try to save as much as they can on branded keyword. Like there's always this question, should I really invest? Like this customer who's already looking for my brand, how much should I spend to defend my brand? And so in this case, again, because AMC gives you access to the organic traffic that comes from branded searches, the tool that we have developed, if you want to go to the next slide, shows you basically on a daily basis how many branded searches your brand gets, and of those searches, how much traffic generate to the product page views, sorry, to the product page. And of that traffic, how much is paid and how much is organic. Now, the goal clearly is to start now, when you have visibility into this, you can start tweaking your ad spend on branded keyword and start trying to reduce the budget on branded keyword and see if the traffic remains stable. When the traffic goes down, you would then reactivate or re-increase your branded keyword spend. Why a brand should do this? Not only because like they want to save money and be more efficient in the way they manage their budget, but also if you look at if you go to the next slide, please, you will see how JLab, for example, using the brand defense tool, they managed to save a good chunk of like the branded keyword budget they were allocating to their campaigns and repurposed that, like reallocated that budget to upper funnel to, again, drive, as we were saying earlier, like to reach an incremental audience. And overall, clearly this drives a lot of efficiency and results. We can go, I think, to the next one. Right, because you have access with AMC to the ad and organic value, let's say, that your shoppers generate or customers generate, you can calculate what is called LTV, lifetime value, long-term value, use the acronym, the definition you prefer. And so if the goal clearly as an advertiser, I want to acquire a new customer, but ultimately what I want to do is to make sure that my customer generates a lot of value, ideally, and I want to attract the right one. I want to advertise the product that will attract the right customers. So what we can do, if you go to the next slide, using the product journey tool, in this slide we show you, this is clearly a demo, so like those are not like actual products, but the data is actually real. And as you can see in this slide, like the first two products, they have the first one received in the time frame selected €600 in ad spend, and the second one for €100. Both of them have a very similar customer acquisition cost, so it means that they are converting customers in an efficient way, around 2.6, 2.7 euros. What is interesting to note, though, is that if you look at the value that those customers acquired through those two products generate in 12 months, which is the CLTV 12 column that you see there, the first one, customers generate €11 of value. In the second one, 23 euros of value. So clearly, insights like these can help you then reallocate budget across your catalog and to ensure that you are, let's say, giving more love to the product that can generate the highest ROI in the long term. We can go to the next one. And this is an example, an analysis we've been running. So we don't have the full case study because these are still work in progress, but we wanted to share a more like a real life example. In this case, this is a leading consumer electronic brand. And what they realized running this type of analysis is that customers that started, like became new to brand or started purchasing in their brand with a mouse, like 20% of them would then generate a second purchase within the brand, while those that started with a headset, only 10% of them would generate an additional purchase. So clearly, again, If you go to the next, yep. I'm still like I want to still highlight the concept of how you can use advertising to drive more long-term value. And another tool that you would use is the cohort analysis. If you go to the next slide, and then I'll show a real-life example with the same brand. So in this case, this is again demo data, but you can see from this slide how 75% or 80% like of customers that became new to brand 1 year ago, they only purchased once. So it means that I made an effort, I spent my advertising money, I got the customer, but they only purchased one. So what do I do now? If you go to the next slide, just to bring again like a real life example, again a consumer electronic brand, they realized that 82%, 83% basically of their customer in a given category, they were basically purchasing only one product, and so by just increasing the repeat purchase rate by 1%, they would generate $250,000 in value. So a lot. And I'll show you what we are doing with this customer. If you go to the next slide, please. So in this case, clearly, as I was mentioning earlier, like the challenge was how do I leverage like purchase patterns to build campaigns that drive new to brand repeat purchases, because it's the repeat purchases that really drives the LTV up. So we use the AMC in this case to create audiences, and specifically we identified customers, like we created audiences around the customers that were high value customers. So those in the top two deciles, like the top 20% of the high value new to brand customers that had purchased one product. And now we are retargeting these customers to present other products. And what is interesting is that and again, this is still sort of like a work in progress, but what we are seeing from early results is that this strategy is generating a much higher rate of returning customer than the brand's average. So now these high value customer are purchasing like the second and third product in a parallel category. If you want to go to the next slide, we are now at the 301 level. So again, 301 is all about, okay, now I can really, like, I know everything about AMC. I understand how to use it. I see there's a lot of value in it. But I don't just do business on Amazon. I don't just sell on Amazon. I sell, for example, on my direct-to-consumer website, or I have data, first-party data that can enrich my Amazon strategy. And so in this case, we go into the 301 use case. If you go to the next slide, where the goal is clearly to amplify your first-party data capabilities and impact by basically combining the value of your first-party data with the value of all the data that you can find in AMC. And so with doing that, you can build a more holistic view of your customer. You can see what is the real LTV, long-term value of your customer when you combine the sales generated on your website and on Amazon. Or if you are a non-endemic advertiser, so an advertiser that doesn't sell their product on Amazon, this would be your entry level if you want with AMC. Anyway, if there's any non-endemic advertiser here, I want to say we can make it easy anyway, don't worry. And clearly you would focus mostly on using your data to create audiences and leveraging the Amazon insights to optimize your campaigns. The example that I wanted to show here is a brand that basically it's a leading home security company. They sell devices, home security devices on Amazon and on their website. but the subscription to their services can only be done on their website. And not all the customers that purchase the device will also subscribe to the membership for the security service. So it's clearly better for them if they could optimize their campaign, not just to drive, let's say, LTV at the device level, but ideally, I want to drive LTV at the device plus membership level. And to do that, I need to clearly combine my first-party data, what I know about who are my customers, what is the profile of the customers that activate membership? Can I match that profile with Amazon data to then build better audiences and so on? Yes, you can. Can I optimize campaigns to drive new to brand customers that then more likely will convert to membership? Yes, you can. So this is the type of use case that would be supported at the 301 level. It's just a little bit more complex because it requires you to combine the first-party data, and sometimes I've seen this in companies will require approvals involving another team and like stuff that clearly, again, can be done, but sometimes take time, and so this is why we recommend to start easy. And I think we can go at the 401 level real quick, and probably then we have time to address some of the questions here. So 401, as I mentioned earlier, I think from my experience so far, it's pretty rare. Like there are clearly companies that can benefit from an approach like this. It's not the majority of the company. You must be usually like a very large enterprise with ideally a global footprint and so on. And so if you want to go to the next slide, what happens at this level is you combine your advertising, your signals that you have on your AWS clean room, that you have on your AWS environment. And then rather than moving this data to AMC, you would use AWS clean room to communicate, to drive basically the communication of this data between your AWS environment and AMC. Just to share with the audience here an example, think about like two companies that want to collaborate on data because their business are in some way connected. Let's say, just to give an example, a company is I don't know, they do coffee machines, and the other company is they do the pods and sell the coffee. And so clearly, for them to work together, because I don't know, I know that someone has just purchased a new machine and I want to sell coffee to this person, and so like the possibility for these two companies to collaborate with data, it's huge. But clearly, each company, they will not want to share their data one with the other. So what this 401 level, let's say, use case enables is that you can basically build queries that interrogate the data set across the two companies and only share the aggregated results rather than having access to the precise data. With this, I think we are done. And I'll let you continue.
Yeah, we're done. I want to say thank you to our speakers for going through everything. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Mick. I think just easy takeaway is that AMC is not rocket science. You could start at the 101 and work your way up and tap Skai and XPN when you need a little bit more help and you're ready to scale. And so with that, Sean, I know you've been working hard on putting this 90-day audit together, so I'll let you offer it to our audience.
Yeah, thanks, Anna. We found, as Mick said earlier, we found that typically brands or agencies may have one person that's very focused on AMC. So we found it really interesting that, you know, having kind of an audit period where we can collaborate closely with your team and really help you to understand the types of insights that we've been covering today, and then how do we make those actionable? So one thing that we offer is an audit. So we have a 90-day audit. You can find more information on that through the QR code here. But we found it to be very effective. And it helps us to really understand some of the key business questions. Maybe they're different than some of the ones that we highlighted today, or maybe there's very specific use cases that you're trying to tackle. And those are things that we can do kind of in a customized way through these audits. So if you'd like to get more information on the audit process and what that looks like, you can find it through the QR code here. So I'll hand it back to Anna.
Thank you, Sean. We're going to put one more last poll question up. You should all take advantage of that 90-day audit, of course. Thank you, Sean. Putting together this poll, please give us your feedback today so we can continue improving upon and give you all the content that you're looking for from us. And so let's get into some audience questions. I'll start with the most recent. Is multi-touch attribution different from data-driven attribution?
I think I can take this. If I understand the question correctly, or maybe it's just a matter of defining what multi-touch is. So the idea, it's data-driven. So I don't understand exactly the question, but multi-touch, it means that rather than giving the credit to the conversion to the last touch, so the last, and which usually is the last click that the advertiser, the customer, the shopper did on a specific campaign or ad product. What you do is you go back in time, look at the customer journey, like what is the media path to purchase, like how many ads was this shopper exposed before converting. And then using an algorithm, we attribute basically part of the credit to the last touch, to what happened in between, to the first touch. And this helps advertiser having a better understanding of what is the value that each ad product, ad strategy really drove.
Yeah, I think that question, I don't know, maybe it came from a like Google search user, perhaps. I know from my search history back in the day, data-driven attribution is kind of like a synonymous term for multi-touch attribution in this instance. So may have come from that.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
Now, this one's an easy one. What's XPN? Is it a free tool within Skai? Unfortunately not. XPN is too good of a tool, a solution, a company to be free, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But it is a new partner. Mick, I'll let you kind of explain our integration if you'd like as well.
No, exactly. Thank you. No, it's not free. We still have to pay the bills somehow. And so we cannot, I'd love to make it free one day. But jokes apart, XPN is a solution focused on AMC, as you may have understood by now. What it's new is that a few weeks ago, we finished our integration within Skai. So what I think is great about this integration is that there's a lot of insights that you can get through XPN. And then you can, if you are a Skai customer, you can use Skai for the activation part of these insights. So an example would be, again, you, I don't know, identify a specific customer acquisition cost that you want to have for your new to brand, for your campaigns aimed at driving new to brand customers. You would use XPN to better understand what's the right customer acquisition cost, what campaigns are driving this cost up and down, what keywords, what targeting, and so on. But then you would use Skai to automate the management of like the activation of these campaigns. Clearly, you can use XPN like also independently, but then your activation tool, if you use one, either could be Skai or any other tool.
Yeah. I know that we got this one in the registration, Kevin. By connecting AMC through Skai, can we leverage audience on other channels like Meta or Google? And that same question was actually came in from an attendee as well. They're asking, leveraging non-Amazon, leveraging AMC insights and audiences for non-Amazon platforms like Meta. I know there are ways of using audiences beyond Amazon with our audience manager, but do you have more insight to share there?
So I think with that, it might be like kind of related to the 301 level where we were talking about
Yeah.
uploading first party data, or in this case, like hashed data from Facebook or Meta. So in that way, I think you could kind of combine the two in some capacity. Mick, I don't know if you have any insight on that.
Yeah, exactly. The short answer to that question is no, you can't do that exactly in the way everybody would love to do it. And the reason it's easy, like Amazon, Meta, Google, these are all walled garden. And so the reason, like the technical reason is the way they, let's say, create resolve the identity of the user is different. And so I cannot say, hey, I've created this audience with Amazon. I want to reach these customers through, I don't know, Google 360. No, you can't do that clearly. What you can do is if you use your first party data and you map basically this information that you have in your, like, let me say this in an easy way. If you are able at the 301 level, you can be able to identify, like, to resolve the identity let's say, to match basically, sorry, the audience tag of that specific user in your first party data, and then reuse it, let's say, combine it with your other campaigns. I realize that I've given a very, let's say, a vague answer. I'd be happy, whoever is it who asked this question, if you want to reach out to us, we can go more into the details of this.
Thank you. I think we have time for one more question. So, and Mick, you touched on this earlier, but what paid features are required for the insights that are being shared? Does it require a subscription in AMC to Amazon Insights, Amazon retail purchases? I know FSI is another one too.
So there's no concept of subscription in AMC. So AMC, it's free. Then yes, Amazon Insights is paid data, or Amazon retail purchases is paid data, and there are other paid data set. Now, what we usually do with our customers is, because with Amazon Insights, for example, you can have a 60-day free trial. So what we usually do is we connect to their AMC instance, we load all the insights that we have in our dashboard, and then we activate Amazon Insights. This is kind of like a trick. And then we show customers what's the difference between the view that they can get through Amazon Insights or without. And with that, it becomes easy to decide whether it's worthwhile or not. Yes, Amazon Insights is the new name for FSI, in case also someone was confused on this.
Me, I was confused. I misspoke.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you again, Mike and Kevin, for that lightning round of questions. And thank you for all our attendees that made it this far and for submitting those questions for us. Happy we could clarify today. And so thank you again to our hosts. I don't know if you guys want to sign off with anything, but.
No, thanks.
I just wanted to say, I see that there's another question. Is it true that you can only run analysis or campaigns in AMC that you cannot run analysis for audiences that you have built in AMC? I'm not understanding completely the question, but again, I would be happy to dig deeper. Like if someone wants to reach out, click the scan to book audit, and we can take it from there.
Yeah, keep us posted with any lingering questions.